Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's March 18th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and this is going to be the second time I did the chart lesson today. I need to get out of here a little early today and not be here till 8 o'clock like I have been every night for the last week or so. But I already did the chart lesson once, and I guess I forgot to turn my microphone on, and it was 30 minutes worth, and there was no sound at all. So I'm already frustrated and mad at myself. So I'm going to do it over again, but I'm going to move through them really quickly. And I had some good teaching moments, and I hate it that we lost it, but I don't have time probably to go into as much detail as I did on the first one, and I apologize. Just dumb bunny me today. So anyway, you can see we had a down day today. We did close. We did trade trend slightly lower. This low is a little bit lower. This one, but we closed off that low. Really, what we had was we had an early trend down that just went sideways for the majority of the day, and you'll see that when we flip over. Let's go ahead and just flip over to the 2,000 tick chart. And here it is. There's no news today, so we got the trend working now. We get a close outside, move to a new low, and it looked like we might reverse. But prices, I guess they didn't consider this a good enough test, and we made two big legs down to test that low. We actually made one more down, and then from that point on, you would think we would rally, but we couldn't. We just went sideways. I would say really from right here on, it was obvious we were in a range today. So there it is. You're playing the trend here, and you're playing range rules here. So there was a nice trade right out of the gate this morning. I think 7 o'clock comes right on this bar. Yeah, 658. So it really turns 7 on this bar that makes the lower high. Well, this is your signal bar, and you could argue that's a lower high, but your signal bar is not good enough. So, but you do get a second entry short. Notice that's a double bottom, so that's a new low. First entry, second entry. Nice signal bar, very bearish. I like going short right there. Um, there's a lower high here as well, but when we didn't go lower right there on that second entry, if you weren't already in, I wouldn't take that one. It ends up going lower, but don't risk it. And that might have been the only trade you needed today. And then we chopped sideways here. If you'd had a good signal bar here, that would have been a double top. So, but I still think you weren't you were so close to the trend line, you'd probably want to wait. But we really go lower, make a lower high, and there's just no entries in there. Here you get a second entry. Notice you're working up. First entry, you get your close outside new high, but that signal bar is not good enough, so you just have to watch that one. Then we're working sideways. You get a little failed breakout. Um, you could take that one, but you're better off to see if you get a lower high, which comes here. And if you only way you could enter this is when it broke higher and turned down, you could enter it on the engulfing bar. I don't think you want to enter down here. I think you would be making a big mistake. This one covers the whole range, so no entry there. And you want to get a few tests of this before you go short, so there's no shorts down here. But we finally find a little support. You actually get two legs back and a turn down there. Technically, by the counts, this is a first entry, and then it goes higher and turns back down, and there's a second entry right there. But don't go short there. I think somebody sent me this trade. You're not back to the key entry point. Yeah, you could argue that maybe that it's a range there, but that is congested. You're still inside this range. You could argue that maybe there's a slight close outside new high all in one bar, but I'd wait because that just looks like one leg up to me. And sure enough, you do get another leg up and a second entry short here. And the signal bar's got a lot of stem. Maybe it closes in the lower 1/3 and you take that because that definitely looks like two legs up. So maybe you take that. I marked it green. You're better off to wait on a lower high and you don't get a setup on that. And you bounce down here multiple times, but I don't see anything that you can take to go long there. And you actually get a spike and channel up here with a close outside, a couple swings to a new high, but again, you don't get a setup up here. And I marked this one as a maybe. There's just enough ticks there to scalp out. If you try to get anything more than 4 ticks, then you got a failure there. You could argue there's a triple test. You could argue there's a break in new high, but sometimes you get two legs on the break. And here you got two legs. And this does look a little congested right here too. So, but it works. If you took it, you would have got a scalp, but I wouldn't take that. I'd wait, and hopefully you get one up here, and you don't get even a lower high. You don't get a setup. It's kind of a shame, but by being patient and waiting a few more minutes, you get a clear 2 legs up, a break of the trend line, a new high, and it turned down right off that previous support, a perfect signal bar. That's where you go short. And you may get a runner on that one. Boom, off it goes. You get a break here and a new low, and boom, it takes off the other way. I don't think you want to go long here. I think you need a higher low, which you don't get, and then you're just kind of chopping along. But notice the triple test there. Big bearish bar. I like going short 1 tick below it and just exiting right here. If you get a runner, otherwise just scalping out. I'd probably just scalp out. That's all I would do there. And then it bounces up down here. Now you got a triple test. If it would have broke higher, I'd go, as long as you got room to get out before here, take that trade. But notice how it doesn't break higher. And so I just sit tight, and it actually pushes way on up here, but you don't get a setup. You get a lower high here, no setup, and then it drops through, but I don't see any setup to go short. And then suddenly you get a close outside and a new low all in one bar, and off it goes. So maybe you take that bar again. You're better off to see if you get a higher low, but this thing just takes off. That's what rejection off the lows looks like. And it comes back here and you get another rejection. Look at it go. And then you get another rejection. Look at it go. You got to take those. This one's working up. Close outside. 2 legs to a new high. And there's a second entry short right there. It closes back inside this resistance. So you can take that. You could argue almost for it to be red. Because it's clearly a break and 2 legs up. But there's a lower high here with a perfect setup. Just take it. And if you probably would have scalped out, and then if you tried to get any runners, they were gone. You could enter and scalp again, and then you could enter yet again, because now you got one right off the resistance, another bearish bar. You could enter again, and there's enough room here on these to try to get a runner, and so you could even get a runner here, boom, and that might be all you need for the day, and you're done before lunch. If you took a couple of these, you were probably already done before lunch, before 10. But notice how it bounces down here, makes a slightly higher high. It's not a this is like a first, second, third, fourth entry, but you get the close outside and the new low, and it bounces right off possible support there. You don't really have a triple test here yet, because it looks like it's setting that up. This is much lower and this is much higher. But I still think you could take that trade. You're better off to wait on the higher low at this point, but you don't get one. It runs up here. And you might take this trade because it's a lower high. The problem is you got a break of this channel coming up here, but you don't have a new high yet. So it could still go higher, but you're so far away from the EMA. It's a decent bar. You got a double top with a slightly maybe lower high. So that far away from the EMA, maybe you take it. But it drops down here, and instantly you get more rejection. Look at that bar. Look at the size of it, 31 ticks. But you know what? That's what rejection looks like. And now you got a triple test at that level. I'm going to go long 1 tick there, and I'm going to put my stop right here, and I'm not going to worry about much because it doesn't even get any heat. It barely backs up, and it's gone. Quick, easy trade, close outside, move to a new high, and turns down. Unfortunately, you don't get a signal bar there. If you got a good, nice bearish bar, you can go short there. But it comes down here. Notice it bounces once, twice, 3 times, and you get another bullish bar. And this actually gets a close outside the new low on this channel working down. I like going long there again. I only marked it green, but you could argue for it to be red, really. And boom, it runs straight to the top. Gets a close outside, a couple of swings to a new high, and you get a setup right here at the resistance. That's a really, really big bar, and It's like 25 ticks. And the difference here is that you're right into the EMA. So you don't worry too much about the EMA when you're in a range, but the fact that it's closing above it and you got a little stem there, I still think if you want to take it, you could take it, but you're taking a little more risk there. Turns out to be just fine. It runs down, close outside, new low, and then it reverses. Now you're working up. I don't see any longs down here. You're working up, close outside, couple of legs up. You don't have a new high yet. So I don't know that you can't go short there anyway because there's too much stem on that signal bar. But guess what? It bounces here 3 times, gives you a signal bar. At the very least, you're coming back to here. And you're probably going to come back to here and try to make a new high. And you can see it actually goes all the way to here. So it takes off. Now you do have your close outside and a new high in place here, but sometimes you get 2 legs. And this does close outside. I'd still say you could mark that green. And if you took it, actually, no, I wouldn't take that one. I was going to mark this one, but I forgot that was an engulfing bar. And so you wouldn't take that trade on the engulfing bar. I can't remember. I don't know if this broke higher or lower first. If it broke higher and turned down, you can't take it. If it broke lower first and you got into it, you're going to be in trouble in this one. And that's why you got to be careful when they close outside like that. So that's why I usually mark them green. I don't know how this one played out, so I really can't even comment on it. If it broke higher and then turned down here and broke lower, it's an engulfing bar, and you can't take that anyway. So that's probably why I didn't mark it. But you get 2 legs up, and unfortunately, that's not a good enough signal bar. So you watch that when you get a lower high here that you might take, and of course it's no good. And by that time, you've moved too far. And you can see the channel working down, close outside, move to a new low, and it bounces. You might take that one. I didn't mark it, but you got to. The problem is you got a little different high or low. It's a little different than these last 3 here. I think you need one more test, but you do have the break and new low, so maybe you take that one. It looks like rejection off that. Comes back and you get another setup. It's not a perfect signal bar. If it was, I'd say I'd mark that one blue. It runs up. You get a close outside. It tries to run up to a new high and makes a lower high. I like to take that one. And you can see it ends up going back up to the highs again on the second leg, but you would have scalped out. It gets 7 ticks, or 7 ticks. So you got 1 extra tick to deal with there. If you're going for 4 ticks, if you're going for 8 or trying to do some kind of 1-to-1 ratio, guess what? You had a loser there. But if you follow the rules and go for 4, you had a winner there on a lower high. The problem here that you got to be careful. I think you could argue you got to close outside a new high all in one bar, but it's close. So maybe you got to wait on the lower high. You can't take that bar for sure. And that's a good lower. I mean, there's a little bit of stem there. You might argue that I should have marked that one green, and I wouldn't argue back. I'd say, okay, yeah. But I liked it when I saw it in real time, and it would have worked. Again, you get 1 extra tick there. So you easily scalp, and that's why I do that's why I argue that, if you try to do a 1-to-1 ratio or better, you had a loser there because it comes back and stops you out. If you try to do 8 ticks there, it stops you out. And there's a bunch of them like that. But if you just follow the rules, they're all winners. And most of them take no heed at all. But there it is. Trend down. Close outside a couple of times, and you finally got some, for sure, enough moves to the low that you could count on this thing's probably going to correct. And even though we didn't reverse and trend up, this is still consolidating and correcting upwards, somewhat sideways. So this could be all the correction you get, and if it wasn't 230 or 3 or the market wasn't closing, it could turn back down, and you might even get a measured leg down from here. This is good enough to call it a correction. So sometimes that's all. If the market's really weak, it's not strong enough to take off and create another flatter trend or anything, but it's not strong enough to get a trend to the upside. You just get a sideways correction in a range, but that's still a correction. So anyway, I wish I'd have had time to talk about some of these trades and some of the teaching lessons that were here today, but I just don't have time. So I'm going to wrap this up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Matt with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.